working together. When we get together working with them, that means that we all of a sudden we're working with Lebanese. So at Juma in Oakland in the 80s, you might come, it might be, we might ask someone, a Pakistani brother, we might ask a Shia brother from the Indian community or from Lebanon. Or if we had a program, we look at our old stuff, we have Lebanese brothers. We were a very multicultural community. But we know what that meant. We already knew what that meant. So we've had several cycles of development here because even though we may ascertain from the very beginning that that's probably not going to work during this period, during this time, but we still have to give it a try. You know, we have to give it the old college try. So that means that we have to give the open, on the surface try to make this, it's our right in America, right? It's the right time to do it because the African American movement is dead, but that idea of movement by the late 70s and early 80s, that the discussion, the ideas is still in the people. You know, it's not a dead letter like it is now. People don't even remember what you're talking about. But at that time, which was over 40 years ago, people knew what it meant and the language. So, and also when people heard about Islam, Islam had a revolutionary characteristic in those days. Islam was thought of as a black religion. When anybody thought about Islam, they didn't think about Arabs and Pakistanis. They thought about black people. And that come from first the Nation of Islam and then the Sunni communities in New York and here and the new developed Middle East Coast. The Sunni community, when we opened up on the West Coast, that was the first, that was one more masjid, so-called Sunni Masjid, down in LA. But they were Saudi type, guys. And then when we cranked up in Oakland, you would have to say that we were the only revolutionary, type masjid, that was incorporating all of the things that we had learned. That's why in '82, when we invited Imam Jamil to come out, when we invited the last poets to come out, we had a program at the Oakland Auditorium, and that place was packed for Imam Jamil and the last poets. And there was Iranians there. And when the brothers would turn around and look at the sisters up there, they would look and see, you might have to catch me a little later because I'm right in the middle of this, inshallah. Okay, all right. All right, well, inshallah. Okay. All right, sure, all right. So we had the program at the Oakland Auditorium. Actually, Imam Warathuddin Muhammad was there, and there was an argument whether because we prayed up on the stage. Now imagine in '82, the black people there, the place is packed, and they're not anywhere, they don't understand nothing about the Sunnah. All they heard is black nationalism, but and the poets are there, they kicked the door down. They did a good job. Gendarme, armed gin, all that. They did a good job. Suleiman Al-Hadi and them. Now, I know they had two different groups around here that was talking about they was poets. But Brother Jalil Umar and Suleiman Al Hadi and a couple, they the ones came out to Oakland. And that put us on the map. I mean, the place was full. Can you imagine? Not only African Americans, but all the Iranians came. And then the whole balcony was where the Iranian sisters were sitting, and some of them was white, and everybody was looking up. They didn't even know it was such thing as a white Muslim. You know what I mean? This is how, and they didn't know the difference between the Iranian and white. No way, you know, because some Iranians look white, you know. Boy, but it was a big show. It was a big show, and technically it put us on the map, you know, and some of the brothers from Imam Jamil's community came out. It was fine. We did several programs after that. But the point is that what we were pushing was a revolutionary style. We was pushing the evolution of Islam, you know, from freedom rides, you know what I mean, and all of that to black power, you know, black liberation, and finally Islam. That's exactly what that this is a natural progress. And that program in '82, it showed, you know, that's where it was, that Islam is it. And Islam and all the programs we had, the flyers from those days went through the process of clarifying what Islam is, you know, and what faith is, you know, for black people. And so this concept of lower your bucket, we've always been in that process of trying to take full advantage of the environment that we're in, right? Taking advantage of the environment that we're in, also looking to our own resources and all of that type of thing. Now remember, all of this is stuff we're doing ourselves. So all the tickets to bring out the poets and to bring out, we're paying for all that ourselves. We're raising all that money ourselves. We don't have any, technically, we don't even hardly ask for any specific foreign support for at least 30 years, you know. Although we got assistance from here. Our program was this: wherever we go, we take boxes and we raise funds to pay for the Masjid in Oakland. We went around and, actually, if you wanted not the glory stage, but that was a wonderful period about Islam in America. And the immigrant community, we raised 80 or 90% of our money from the immigrant community. In other words, we went to, they didn't have any of this big stuff they got now. Most of it was MSA. Like if we went went up to Portland, Oregon, they had a nice masjid on the side of the hill where they prayed all the time. It was a big house, like it had been a big house, but it was nice. And when they have Jummah, they would have it downstairs at the university. Like if it's a chapel upstairs, they'd have it downstairs in an auditorium or what have you. And in those days, everybody that lived in the community, if they were Muslims, they came to that Jummah because they didn't have a lot of the Masjid in America, that was immigrant Masjid, they started in and around campuses. And then later on in the late 80s and early 90s, they started this MCA, Muslim Community Association, where the Muslims would be out in the community now. Remember, they're on the campus and they've graduated and they're doctors so-and-so. And so now they have to have, this is where ISNA come in, Islamic Society of North America, instead of MSA. Up to 1983, it was Muslim Students Association. Now the MSA is a part of the, whatever they call it, ISNA, right? And the other group, ICNA, Islamic Circle of North America, those are followers of Maulana Maududi. They still are, basically. When Maulana Maududi came here in 1972, he met with a lot of the brothers from here. In fact, the Islamic Party, that's where they got their inspiration. One of the main sources of inspiration was Maulana Maududi and Ikhwan al-Muslimin. And they did a good job. They was really, they made a big step. That was a big step. Then the Dar al-Islam movement, that was more local. But I'd like to just regress and talk about the Dar a little bit. The Dar al-Islam movement was mainly in New York. It had place here. It had a few places on the East Coast. But the Dar al-Islam movement was so infiltrated they couldn't even believe it. In fact, some of the people that was in the Dar was trying to convince me, even up into the 80s, when the Dar was brought down in the early 80s, they was trying to convince me how it happened. And one of the guys who was one of the main ones, he was, you could see him, and even if you wanted to see him now, he's running around, He used to do a lot of dawah in prisons. In those days, the Dar al-Islam didn't take money for going in prisons. And they was going in the prisons in New York. I spent time with those same people in 87, the whole summer in 87, at the ISNA headquarters, taking a course in Islam. Believe it or not, I learned a lot in that course, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I learned a lot in that course. It was unbelievable. And I would even go and say that I technically enjoyed it. I met people from over here, like Faisal Khan and all of them. And I met all the ISNA people. That's where I got a picture of exactly what ISNA was. And I noticed who came in at some of the morning prayers and wanted to give a little talk. They might be Kwanis and they might be, this type. And some of the lecturers. I tell you, one of the guys who came was Adam al-Sheikh. I don't know if you know the Sudanese brother from here. Adam al-Sheikh, he's, okay. He used to be a judge in the Sudan. And anyway, a lot of the brothers, that was helpful for us. But even by 87, I was on the list. ISNA knew who I was, and they, I was targeted, that by them. They was going to do this. This is what they wanted to do with Imam Musa. And they had it all set up for me to get married to this was a 17-year-old girl. They figured they'd say, no, high yellow, smart, very smart. Down in, I ain't gonna say where, because then you could figure out who it was. but she was part of the Muslim MENA, is that it? MENA, that type. And I listened to her talk. I said, yeah. And then when I visited the Negro Imam from here, he was at New York, the one with the reddish stuff. He said, I visited him right after that. He says, why you don't marry that girl? Because see, they hook you up. You know, they hooks you up. Most people would think the government is not going to marry people and get them divorced. The government do that. That's what they do. And, you know, whoever they're told to marry, they marry. And one of our great personalities, when he was on the run, he realized I know when